Welcome back guys to the Architecture Insider. Today we have a video of my logbook tour. It's of my second semester of my second year of architecture school. Before we get into the video, please make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notifications to be one of the first to see my videos. Now this logbook, it's not a ordinary logbook, it's 3 logbook all merged together using binding. Now it's just very simple, needle and thread. You go through each hole, then you take out your metal binders, that's all. I have already shown the first part of my sketchbook in Surviving Architecture's video, so if you want to see it, please go over to her channel and I'll put a link in the description down below. After stage 1 presentation, it all went well and we had to start looking at building types. The project was to redesign an area in Wolverhampton, which is in the UK, which was about 1 acre big, which is a pretty big project for just 1 semester. However, nothing is impossible. So as you can see, I have many bubble diagrams to show spaces and the relationship to these spaces. Now this is adding color and showing small key diagrams to make the viewer understand what's going on. Now, I then use tracing paper to help me overlay floor plans and to visualize them better. Tracing paper, you can use them in A4, A3, any size, and they really are easy to draw on. It's important to look at precedent studies as they can help you in many ways. For example, looking at theories and laws and why things have been done in certain ways. This precedent study got me very inspired by the organization of the buildings, which I implemented into my design. It's also important to look at research, for example, minimum meters squared for a bedroom or a kitchen, etc. Yes, it is a bit boring and you always want to jump into the design process, but you can't have a design without your specification knowing how big is what and what goes next to where, instead of just designing random spaces. Here is more development of my first building type, keeping in mind the spaces I researched before. One problem I always had, and I'm sure most of you guys have to, well, I hope you don't, but if you do, it's calling your project name. So a friend of mine really helped me with this and showed me a way to look for names for a project. So what you do, you go to Pinterest, just search for any course related subject and just look at posters, see what they're doing, look at images, just get any idea, well, related to your project, of course, put it down. What you will do then is highlight the ones you like and then do a design on it. So after that, I went on each one and did a specific explanation for why and how I derived to that decision of the name, with a quick diagram just to explain what's going on. I then did a revised version and looked at the buildings itself in detail, looking at garden space, 3D form, views in and out, sun direction, and which rooms have priority, etc. I decided that this will be my building type 1. Here we have building type 2. It is still a initial building type, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it exactly, which is a large building flat and was derived from the shape of the site. I then color coded it and looked at how the multiple buildings would fit on the allocated space of the site. This is building type 3, which is a 3-story high timber frame flat, and here is the present study of it. And next to it we have the forum and the forum location of the site and just a few development drawings. Now it's important to always name your drawings, scale down, and maybe even write down which date you've done it so you can keep track of your drawings. I then went over my building types and did a more clear version to show the lecturer exactly how it looks, because it's not very good to show them a very rough drawing. You want to show them exactly what you've been doing. One thing I struggled with was this specific area of the site. It had a very awkward shape and wouldn't fit any buildings on. I tried my best to look in books, articles, but it just wouldn't work. I just kept going and going with development, trying to get a spark to start the ignition of ideas, but it just wasn't happening. Luckily, at some point I had something I was comfortable with and was able to move forward. We also had to design a hospital. We had to refurbish it and give it a new purpose, which was like doing a semester-long project on its own, and had to look at the new laws of rules of refurbishment, looking at party walls. It was a big mess. However, once again, nothing is impossible. So I worked hard, managed to come up with floor plans, which the lecturer was very happy about actually. There was another listed building which I had to refurbish and found an amazing precedent study for, which I used and managed to create floor plans for it very easily. It's a very nice apartment, to be honest. I don't mind living there myself with a 5-story high rooftop garden. Not bad. I then went on and did some sections. These are urban sections, which is why the detail is more about the space around the building rather than the actual building itself. Now, urban sections are mainly street sections to show the relationship on how people are moving around the building, who is looking over what, where is looking down to what, is anything overshadowing one thing, how is air going through the building, how is sun affecting one building, everything. I then went back to the awkward space and wanted to change it, as we architecture students don't settle for simple, we always push forward. I was just using tracing paper and taking it back to the basics, looking at access in and out of the site, looking at strong vistas, looking at noise barriers, looking at not overshadowing buildings, just very simple, and I just hoped that that would give me a basis of at least the form of the building. At some point, one of my lecturers said to me, "You can't give everyone everything," which really helped me make rational decisions and move forward with the design. Doing 3D forms really helps you understand the space of the building and the spaces around the building and how sun and shadow plays in the space. Because in our lectures we were told that no one designs from bird's eye view. No one lives like that. We have to design as a person on the street, because no one is going to see the buildings as we design it from the top. We're seeing it when we're walking around. Here are the plans for those awkward space. As you can see, it has many floors and it steps up to give a more interesting view from that penthouse apartment. As you can see, you don't always have to put A4 paper in A4 sketchbook. You can always add A3, and I think at some point I've got an A2 paper sheet there laying around too. Here I'm just looking at a few technology features which we were taught throughout the lectures throughout the year, and it really makes the building more interesting and more futuristic. And then we had a review, so I wanted to do a quick sketch to show the lecture where I am and what I think the area should look like and the vision that was in my head. Technology is very important in buildings. I went and printed a few articles and projects, as they will help me when I flick through my sketchbook or if I need to remind myself what I was going to do. For me, the best way to pick finishes for building is to experiment and look what can complement the surroundings or contrast it, looking at relationships between buildings, height, form, and surrounding buildings. So I went and printed my building elevations and experimented with different textures. So I did the same for the other buildings. Each elevation has the correct scale, which is very important to draw. Every drawing needs to have its own scale, as you shouldn't really draw anything that's not to scale, because it stops you for drawing things that are unrealistic or out of proportion. These are just a few more detailed drawings of the building types on a tracing. It did have some coffee on it, it's spilled, which is why it is so rippled. The project design part was coming to an end and had to start getting ready for the final presentation, which was in 2 weeks at this time. And here are just a few more boring notes of some final lecture. I then started to look at my urban section in more detail to understand the relationship of spaces around the building and how people were going to navigate through the site. Because before doing final presentation style drawings, we'd want to do just a quick sketch to make sure it's good. I decided to use boards, which is basically 2A0 size, so I had to think what to put where, and since our site is over 1 acre, I had to think hard on where to put my master plan. So the best thing to do for me is to create your board on paper and draw little A4 or A3 boxes or A2, whatever size you're doing, and write in what you're doing. This could also help you to show your teacher and to make sure that you're presenting it the best way possible. After many endless nights and all-nighters, I managed to come out with a pretty good poster, which the lecturer were very happy about. Here are just a few feedback pages, which is important to have, as I can always go back to what I need to do, as I always forget them. Here is the final poster. It's made of A1 sheets. If you would like to see how I did that and would like to see the full project and the model, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, which will be in the description below. If you have any work that you want me to look at, also send me an email. Don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.